Hey, what is up, nation? In this session, we're going to be looking at modeling curved roofs in Sketchup. Hey, what is up, guys? Fairly quick Q&A today. We have one question from Reverse on YouTube. He asks how to build a curved roofing, or how to build curved roofing. So we're going to dive into that today, talk about doing curved roofs, and I'm not 100% sure what Reverse means when he's asking this question. So we're going to look at this a few different ways. Curved roofing in a bunch of different aspects. So first, I will show you really quickly how to do a curved roof. So what I would start with is probably a plane. So I'm going to press R here to use the rectangle tool. And then you can use your mouse keys, and that'll change the plane that you're drawing in. And just draw a plane here. Now, if you want to do a curved roof in one direction, what I would do is use any of these arc tools to draw on this plane. Now, doing this will help me keep that sort of the plane in the right direction. So by doing this, I can be on this face, and I'm ensured to be drawing this arc on that plane. If you do it out in the open and say do something similar, and I thought this was going down, it's actually not. So it's just having a plane here helps in that respect. So you just pick two corners for the type of arc that I picked, and you can select a point down here and then hold shift, and that will lock this in that plane. So then you have that, and then all you really need to do, let's say we wanted our roof to be a roof that's kind of like this, kind of like TP-esque. We could delete this and then press P to push pull and just extrude that along. So now you have sort of an arc here. So that would be in one direction. And let me just really quickly, let's make a box here just for our building. Check what size this is. We have a giant box. Let's do something like this. Okay, and I'll just make this a group. So if we wanted a curved roof on something like this, what I would do is, again, choosing that plane, do something like this. And then I'm pressing M to move this up. Let's do something, and we'll actually move this down because we want to make sure the top of the roof is about here. So I'll choose an arc. We want it to start here and then be slightly sloped. And actually, just for this, we'll extend this line out so I can get a nicer curve. Do something like this. Okay, so we have that. It's coming a little bit flat here. Now what I would do is offset this. You can just offset this line down. Give it a little bit of thickness. And then we would have our roof here that has an angle. And typically I like to keep, let me just delete some of these extra lines. The white faces, you can see this is sort of a gray. Depending on your style, it may look purple. I'm just gonna right click here and reverse face so it's white. And actually, we're going to extend it out a little bit, and then I'll get rid of that, push pulling. And you can just move this to where you want it to be. Let's say we want a little bit of an overhang there. And then just for your building, what I may want to do is just select, hit Control C to copy that. Come in here, edit, paste in place. You can delete this top line and then just extrude this out. If you want to save on your size and you're not going to see this roof, you can just delete that. Just delete this line down here and this guy. And you can see there is our slightly curved roof. Obviously, you may want to have it more curved or less curved depending on your situation. So that is a curve in one direction. If you have a curve in two directions, we can actually use this same sort of thing. We'll use the same profile for this. Let me just make this a group and delete everything else. Okay, And let's say we want to go sort of in this direction. So what I'm going to do here is select this path, hit the follow me tool and select this. You can see that I have now like a curved portion of the building. And what I'm going to do here is select this and rotate it. Do the same thing. I can actually use this path here, this arc. Let me just undo that. Just to make sure I select all these. So I'm holding control here as I select these. It gives me a little plus. And that means that I'm selecting anything. If you hold shift, it'll give you plus or minus. So if you select something, so I select this, I can deselect or select it. Nice little tip there. And if you hold shift and control, it'll give you a minus. So that was only deselecting. I'm going to just copy this. I hit Control C. Then go back into my little roof object here, edit, paste in place. I have that path already selected, so I'm just going to keep it there. Hit follow me, and it's going to give me that. Now you may not want these little ribs in this type of curved roof, so you hit E for eraser. I'm going to hold down control here and just go across these. And what's that is going to do is it's going to hide all those little lines, and actually it'll smooth it out a little bit as well. So there is a curve in two directions. A curved roof in two directions. You get the point. So if we look at our building with our curved roof in this direction. Now similarly, you can use the same sort of mentality if you want to do a dome. So here is, I'm going to make a little circle. Hit C again. Choose the right arrow key so that I can get locked in the green axis. And then draw this across. Delete this bottom portion, select my path here. Or actually, let's do a half if we want to go 360. So select our path, choose our follow me tool, select our shape there, and we have a dome, which is also in two directions, a curved roof in two directions. So we have that. And then if you want to get to more complex roofs that are curving in multiple directions. Let me see if I have this little file. Just bring in a little reference image for you guys. So if I bring in this roof here, this is a building by Zaha Hadid. And you can see it's obviously complex. It's even sort of like a wall into a roof. And probably this would take a lot more work to do, but I'm just going to show you basically the fundamentals of how I would go about making a roof that's similar to this. So we'll just leave that up there for reference. I'm going to be using the Artisan plugin a little bit later. It's a premium plugin, so it's like $30 for a license for that, but well worth it, I think. So what I'm going to start out with, though, is I'm just going to make some squares. Just copy this, so selected all this, hit M for move, and then while I'm moving, hit Control, and then I'll make a copy. Then if you hit times 10, it'll make a whole bunch of those. 10 to be in fact. And do the same thing in this direction, times 10. So now we have a little bit of a grid. Now what you can do with this is basically do some sculpting with the sandbox tools. So we're just going to leave that like this. And if you have your sandbox tools up here, if you don't, you can click in a white space, right click in a white space, and it'll bring up this menu here. And you just go to the sandbox and click that, and it'll bring you up this little menu here. And then when you're in here, you want to use the smooth tool. So it'll ask you for a radius. Right now it's set to 40. So you can actually change that. You can see the circle then changes as well. Gets a little bit bigger. And so what I might do if I was trying to do something like this is just use this tool to push and pull everything up. You might need to do even a bigger radius. You just sort of like very sculpturally go about doing this. And you may need to just, like, maybe it's 500. Maybe 500 makes more sense, right? Just something like that. Bring this guy way up. You can see the issue that I'm having here is that I can't move this way, and that's where Artisan comes into play. Now let me change this down. Move that to like 400. You start to get sort of a similar shape here. Maybe you want to move the back up so you get that sort of like dip motion. So we have something similar like this. And then you can obviously, as you go through with this, start to, whoops, just really sort of massage everything together. Maybe you realize, oh, I don't need this per se, this extra stuff. So I'm gonna hit 7 here. I bound that to a different key, or the top view to a different key, so I can just delete those quickly. And you get this sort of nice curve that is similar. It's not exact to what's going on here, but you can, over time, you know, if you want to do another version of this, maybe you group this and flip it. So I'm gonna take this, flip along blue. Something like that, and you can start to get some of these under pieces, just go between them. The thing that you can't do with the smooth tool is actually do different layers. So let's say I bring, if I put this here and these are both exploded and I use the smooth tool, you can see it's going to move everything in either side. I can't just select this group. So you may need to, group things differently if you decide to do that. That way you can choose one side or the other. Something like that. But the best way I would think would be to use the Artisan tool. So just really quickly, the Artisan tool, if you're not familiar with it, I'll show you. Basically, I'm going to make a box here. And then what I can do is if I select and make this a group and choose this little subdivide and smooth here, it's basically taking all those corners and turning it into like smoothing all those corners together to make sort of this egg shape. And so that's a really cool way to be able to make more organic shaped things in SketchUp. So we're going to be doing that to sort of replicate this just really quickly. But we don't necessarily need a geometry. We can just use planes for now because I think that will be, the roof is very planar. So we're just gonna choose this and then just try to get this top shape. So I'm just gonna make some lines, just really roughly thinking about where everything is gonna be. Just do something like this and then take the move tool and we're just gonna go vertically to get this little peak here. This guy, because it sort of dips down forward, we're just going to move this back point up. So I'm pressing the up key in the back to get that. You can see we get something like that. And then same thing here. Just bring this up. Obviously much smaller. So we have a really rough idea of what's going on here. And then let's say we want to do something on the underside. So we're going to make another rectangle. Let me just make this a group for now. Make it easier to work. So this guy is curving in a little bit, so we'll just cut this off about here. And then continue this across as well, and then delete these two. So I'm just hitting E for the eraser tool. And then this guy's just gonna curve a little bit into this. So we'll extend this, we'll just cut it a little bit short, that way it doesn't get too affected. And then I'm just gonna double click these, hit Control X to cut, come into this, paste in place. And now we're in this shape. And I just wanna make sure that I bend this a little bit. I don't necessarily need to make it a curve, but I just wanna make sure that it's a little bit softer. So I'm gonna select this, come across, and up a little bit, and then I'll do the same thing here on the bottom. Just trying to get a little bit of a softer gesture there. Do the same thing. This seems okay. I think we can make it just a tiny bit softer. Okay, just do that. Whoops. Okay, and then we'll do one here. There we go. We have a really rough sort of gesture of what this is. I'm not exactly sure what it's doing behind, but let me just save this. When we take this and we put it into Artisan using the subdivide and smooth, it looks kind of weird. Let me just make a copy of this off to the side. What that's doing, because I have this grouped, is it's previewing the subdivide and smooth. But if I explode this and do subdivide and smooth, you can see that it starts to smooth everything a little bit. We want a hard edge on the outside. So what I'm gonna do is just draw some edges here. Basically, if you're familiar with any sort of 3D modeling software that uses edge loops, this is sort of how they introduce them in SketchUp, is with this Artisan program. Basically, it's when you're using Artisan and you're subdividing and smoothing, basically taking what you have modeled and coming up with the average between those points to make it look a little bit smoother. So you can see this edge is going to be a little bit more firm because we added in this edge. Let me select this again, explode. When I choose subdivide and smooth, you can see that this edge now is a little bit harder. There's also this edge crease tool that you can do, but it's also asking me for iteration. So right now this is 1. If I do 2, you can see that it's a little bit smoother. If I do 3, it's even smoother still. And this is just a preview right now. So if I do 2, because I don't want to make the geometry too complicated, and hit enter, you can see this is the curve that we get, which is not exactly this. Obviously it could use some a little bit of love, but it's sort of generally a similar shape. And that's how you can get a roof sort of like that. But this is only a plane, so if you need to add geometry to your complex shaped roof, what you want to do is select this. Let me do orient faces really quick. Okay, it fixed that little guy. So what I would use then, if you want to add some depth to this, is use the push-pull plugin. So if I right click here, Joint Push Pull, it's a Fredo plugin, one of the plugins that I highly recommend. So if you use this, what you can do, there's a bunch of different options for pulling this or pushing this, push-pulling this. If I hit P in SketchUp, you can see by itself it says cannot push-pull curved or smooth surfaces. So basically what you need to do is use this plugin to be able to push-pull this curved surface. So if I hit J here, and sometimes this is just basically I come in here and I mess around with these different options. So if I hit V for vector, you can see that it's going in a certain direction. If I hit the arrow keys, I can go in other directions. I think round might be good. Yeah, so this looks pretty decent. You can see it's going in the right direction, and it's giving me this little preview. You can either go outside or inside. We're gonna go inside for now. If I do that and then hit return, it doesn't work. And sometimes that happens. You might just need to go and choose a different option. So that's going in this direction. Normals is taking out those little faces, which actually is kind of like a cool look when you get to it, because it's sort of triangulated. But there's a lot of mess going on there. Let me undo that. X. This is going in that direction. Here we go. I think this is, yeah, this is the one that I want. Just make sure that. I'm trying to preview this. This one might be good. And obviously there's like a little bit of cleanup to do with this. If I go outside, it looks fine. There's these little squares I need to clean up. So you can just, if you need to triangulate them, you can do that. then hit E, hold Control, and you can erase those lines. And that'll give you the geometry that you're looking for a complex shaped roof, if that's what you're looking to do. Now, some other things I did earlier, just to show you basically something that's probably a little bit closer. I had this guy and made it a geometry, and then realized, hey, if I keep it a plane and then push-pull that surface, I can get the roof that way. And then what I was messing with here was just basically taking a grid and applying it over that roof, over my finished shape or something that's close to being finished, to try to get it back to something that makes sense. So, you know, if you're doing a roof like this, that could be fine, but you may want to apply some structure to it at the end, just to, you know, if you want to put beams or anything in there, to just have some sort of order. So applying a grid to it is a good way to do that. So what I was messing with here was basically what happens if you take that and then apply this grid and then start drawing over top of it. So basically this is, let me just move it back in. So what I was doing here is, if I come into this group and show these, just drawing lines from each corner. So there's already a line there, coming down to here, and then across. And then just connecting those lines like that. And that's just giving this a much more geometric sort of feel, and turning something that's really organic shaped and bringing some structure back to it. So that's one way to do that. And then you can also, what I did over here is I took that and I sliced it into a bunch of little shapes and then was reconstructing it here. You may want to do something like that if you need certain beams that you want to put in, or anything like that into your organic shape. But other than that, I think that should cover the 3 different kinds of curved roofs, if that's something that you're interested in modeling in SketchUp. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And as always, happy hacking.